this is like a house of worship. No one sits in the front row, except the pastor and his wife. I mean, really. Come on, fill in. Pastor Suskovich, do you usually sit in the front row?
Always.
Okay, good. Well, welcome everyone. Welcome to the Paula Takacs Foundation 2022 gift presentation to Levine Cancer Institute and Levine Children's Hospital for Sarcoma Research. I can't start without thanking Loretta's Restaurant so much for opening up their hearts and sponsoring fully this event. The food, the beverages, the beautiful music that's played during the reception here, the decorations, and on and on and on. They have been incredible. Thank you to John Jenkins, the owner, Laura Grice, the event manager, and the entire team at Loretta's. I'm sure you have enjoyed this beautiful space and the artful Creole cuisine, and you will all be back when they open to the public, where this is kind of like the greatest soft opening in the world. I do not. Loretta's first week of January. Be there. Aloha. Today we are here to give the biggest grant in our foundation's history. We're also going to say thank you a bunch, so forgive me, but expressing gratitude is definitely a core belief of mine, and I am grateful for everyone here and everyone that supports our mission. So our history a little bit. Since inception, we've granted over $2.1 million for Sarcoma Research. And believe it or not, we're one of the most active pan-sarcoma organizations in the entire United States that has a research mission. We've funded 5 very noteworthy projects and 1 globally recognized clinical trial that has clearly expanded hope for both researchers and patients alike, here and everywhere. We've hosted over 10,000 attendees at over 30 events. No wonder I am tired. We've raised awareness and educated through our Sarcoma is Cancer luminary display that we have before the Sarcoma Stomp and our sarcomaiscancer.org website that helps to educate people. Our research has shown that people need research and people need education and people need places to turn to in their hour of need. And research has shown that that area of our website is extremely well used. You might have seen on the table in the back, there's some Sarcoma is Cancer vinyl clings. If you'd like to help us spread awareness of sarcoma and help educate and potentially save someone's life, please take a cling. There's no adhesive on the back. It comes right on and off your car. Just as happy and honored as I am for all those accomplishments I've just listed, I think I'm equally as proud that we've really established a very, very strong and vibrant sarcoma community in our region. People have formed connections and friendships, and we have supported each other through the best of celebrations and the worst of times. And for me, that is definitely as much a barometer of our success and our worth as anything else. 2022 was quite a year for our foundation. We were very busy, thankfully, and we had 5 events. Of course, we had our Sarcoma Stomp that we held each April, and that was presented by Amwins, our longtime friends and corporate partners for this mission. We also need to thank, who's here tonight, Charles Bartz of Town Bank, and the Norman family also for their very tremendous support during the Sarcoma Stomp. And of course, thank you to Pastor Scott and Gretchen and Greg Huther and everyone at Christ Lutheran Church for lending us your beautiful home. since 2015. It's a very precious place for us for very obvious reasons. We're very happy to be back in person at Sarcoma Stomp in 22. It was all smiles, joy, and a rainbow of shirts all across the landscape, and it was a sight to behold. We also held Golf for Sarcoma this year in the fall as we joined forces with the former Lauren Marie Kimsey Foundation for Sarcoma Research to honor the life of Lauren Marie Kimsey. That was also a tremendous event, and we thank Donnie and Jen Grisham and Kristen Phillips for their complete dedication and their heart to pull off a very hard event. We also had the great fortune, call it a secret weapon, but not so secret. We also had the great fortune of benefiting from 3 other events in 22, and why this check is our largest grant in history. All In to Fight Cancer held their annual poker tournament at the Fillmore, an event that we are one of the beneficiaries of historically for the past 5 years. And I'd like to thank Clifton Castello and Sherry Joseph for their support and their friendship in this regard. And when you go to this poker tournament, you don't need to be a poker expert, trust me. You just close your eyes and you hear the talk and you hear the chips flying and you watch the smiles, and it's just so much fun and so joyous. Also, the Food and Beverage Social Club this year held their first Fork Cancer Chef's Dinner. I did say fork cancer, by the way. And it was just a beautiful showcase of food. Hey, Loretta's, maybe you can join in that next time. I'd like to thank Lucia Zatz and Brianna Fleming of Food and Beverage Social Club, and Mark Allison, who was of Forever Oceans, who was the head chef and creator of the event in memory of his wife. Mark couldn't be here tonight. He had to fly back to the UK, but he sent me a nice note. He led the talented parade of incredible chefs in our Charlotte region, and it was the most exquisite evening with the most amazing food, and it was just wonderful. And we were just very honored to be chosen to benefit from that event as well. And lastly but not least, the Baker Strong, here's my real target here of secret weapon. No one knew this, but we had a Baker Strong golf tournament, which was hosted by the friends and colleagues of Clayton Baker to carry on his legacy of outstanding leadership at Ernst & Young, his sincere zest for life, and his kindness to every single person that crossed paths with him. They raised an obscene amount of money for Sarcoma Research, and tonight we have in our audience Christy Sneed and Millie Thacker. Thank you both so much for just putting on the most amazing event and partnering with us in our mission. We are eternally grateful. Looking ahead to 23, I'm excited to announce that we have a new division. Some parts of it are displayed in the table in the back. Let me tell you a little more. It's called Growing Hope Through Art. It's really an extraordinary way that we can expand our impact through the huge power of art. Here's a little bit about it. Local artists will be commissioned to create permanent art installations in our region. That could be in medical facilities, in corporate offices, in public spaces, in parks. These art pieces will be underwritten by corporations, art patrons, private donors, and then afterwards we'll employ our unique fundraising model, whereby individual elements of the art installation are selected by the donor based on their giving level, creating quite a connection between the donor and the visual outcome of the art. Our first installation will be at Levine Cancer Institute. It will be 18 feet of glass, hand-blown by glass artist Jake Pfeiffer of Hot Glass Alley. He's named the installation Seasons of Life for his remembrance and his journey as a childhood sarcoma survivor, which I did not know when I met him. So unbelievable. Kismet. The tree will be 200 to 300 pieces, individual hand-blown pieces of bark and flower blossoms. You'll see samples of it on the back table if you didn't notice it when you first came in. There's some postcards back there with QR codes that will take you to the Growing Hope Through Art website so you can learn more. You can watch the video of Jake's story, which is truly mind-blowing. And you can experience everything about the launch of Growing Hope Through Art. There's also some packets in the back for those who prefer to take the information on paper. Please feel free to do so. I'd now like to call up two of our distinguished guests from Levine Cancer Institute. And first, I'd like to say that the strength of our Atrium partnership goes back to 2012 when Levine Cancer Institute opened its doors. And I think the remarks that you're going to hear tonight from Levine Cancer Institute really demonstrate the quality and the significance of the sarcoma research taking place in our region. So first, I'd like to call up Dr. Antoinette Tan, Chair of the Department of Solid Tumor Oncology and Investigative Therapeutics, Co-Director of the Phase 1 program, and Chief Section of Breast Medical Oncology. Dr. Tan.
Thank you, Sue. Good evening. Thank you for that introduction. It's a real honor to be part of the Levine Cancer Institute as the chair of the Department of Solid Tumor Oncology and Investigational Therapeutics. And this really includes an incredible group of clinicians and scientists working together to better understand sarcoma and improve the outcomes for our patients locally and also beyond. After succeeding Dr. Edward Kim in this position, I've really witnessed how well this team works together to better understand a difficult and rare cancer in sarcoma. And the success of the sarcoma team at LCI could not do what it has done over the last few years without the incredible partnership, dedication, and support of the Paula Takacs Foundation for Sarcoma Research. And the generosity of the foundation and all of its donors has created a really unprecedented level of support for a single disease state at LCI. Beyond the financial support, the foundation has also amplified awareness of sarcoma in the community and the entire region, helping create a true community of warriors united in the fight. Having this strong philanthropic partnership has had an impact at present and certainly will have an impact in the future in terms of research initiatives and attracting more talent to LCI. As a clinical researcher myself, I know how hard it is to conduct investigator-initiated research, meaning to take a homegrown scientific idea and test that in our patients. And as one example, the partnership between LCI and Paula Takacs Foundation made it possible to perform a phase 2 trial that evaluated a novel targeted treatment with immunotherapy combined with chemotherapy for metastatic sarcoma, which enrolled 30 patients over 2 years at our cancer center. I mean, that is just amazing work.
That's amazing, sorry.
And so this study was chosen at the Scientific Program Committee of the American Society of Clinical Oncology, which is a professional oncology association, for a prestigious poster discussion at the 2020 annual meeting. due to the significance of these study results, and subsequently was published in a really high impact journal called Clinical Cancer Research exactly 1 year ago. And so this kind of partnership and philanthropic support really allows researchers to dream bigger and create more trials to benefit our patients. So with that research highlight, I think this is a good segue to now introduce Dr. Josh Patt, who's the section chief of the sarcoma section, to highlight all the ongoing work and recent successes of the LCI Sarcoma Group.
All right, thank you. It's great to hear from Dr. Tan and to be here with everyone. I had the opportunity to give a little bit of a research update at the golf tournament, which I hope more people will be participating in. And in the future, it was a wonderful event, and really, it's such an amazing experience to be able to stand up and just look at all of you. And my challenge tonight, as well as it was at the golf tournament, was to see if I can tone down the medical words and make what we do sort of understandable and appreciable, because there really is so much really interesting and innovative stuff going on that is really only possible because of the foundation and the support that they have given. So just to sort of fire through a couple of projects to highlight some of the stuff that we've done. The original study that was truly inspired by Paula was our liposarcoma genomic study. So those of you who didn't know Paula or don't know the genesis of the organization, she had a liposarcoma, and that was sort of her impetus for looking at sarcoma research. And so one of the first studies we did with our genome project was to look at liposarcomas in the database that we had. And we took all these tumors, and the geeky stuff is really cool. We should get Nuri up here to actually explain it, so I don't sound so simple, just a bone doctor. But basically, we looked at the genetic signatures of all of these tumors. And because of the huge experience we have here, we also knew the patient's outcomes. We knew who had metastases, who had good outcomes, who didn't have good outcomes. And we could try and correlate, what do these things mean, and are there things we can find? So this is actually the new frontier in cancer surgery. Cancer therapy. Everybody knows the old-time chemotherapy. People lost their hair, they were in the hospital, they threw up, they got sick, and then hopefully something worked, right? But probably a decade and a half, almost 2 decades ago, we came up with these targeted therapies, which tried to be more precise. It's like shooting pheasant with a shotgun versus being a sniper and hitting something from a couple 100 yards away. And that's what we've evolved to. And we can't create those drugs without studies like this that identify targets from these tumors. So it was really cool for us. The best part is it's very timely, with Dr. Jugoski as our lead author. That just was published yesterday, literally. And we identified a couple of novel targets. And that doesn't mean that all of a sudden we have a drug, but a company can't invent a drug until they have a target. So that's part of what we do on the front end here, is trying to identify the targets and move on from there. So our next project in the genomic world, again, looking at the signatures of these tumors, is to look at synovial sarcoma. It's another one that we deal with quite a bit. Lauren Marie Kimsey Foundation that Sue was just talking about. Lauren had a synovial sarcoma, and understanding the specific genetic signatures of that tumor are things that we're looking forward to figuring out better drugs again to treat that tumor. So it's it's kind of the stuff you'd probably hear about in a college classroom. These way we break down the tumors and look at their genetic elements, but it's very fun and interesting, and is going to and already has changed the way that we treat cancers. So beyond that, we've got a couple other things that we're really excited about. First one would be our liquid biopsy study. So Dr. Anderson, who I think was still stuck in the OR, unfortunately, and Dr. Storwald, who's here, are kind of leading this project. And I think most of the men in this room right now are old enough to have had a PSA test. So PSA is looking for a signature of prostate activity in your blood, right? It's a blood test. So we call it a blood biopsy in a way. That's one of the gold standards with how we treat a certain type of cancer. Sarcoma, we really don't have that yet. There are a lot of cancers that have blood biopsies available. So they have learned a way to sort of look for circulating tumor DNA from sarcomas in the blood. And we started with a funded project and just recently finished doing sort of the data crunch. That's not quite ready for final publication and presentation yet, but I think that the initial data is really exciting. And it's one of those things, the most important thing is we actually found stuff in the blood. So now it's trying to figure out which tumors are best for this, how can we do it, and figuring out from the preliminary data, how do we make this a bigger study and really look again to figure out a way to change cancer. I mean, people who understand any type of cancer, not just sarcoma, understand that you come into the office, you get seen, you get a study, maybe you go to the operating room, maybe you go to radiology and you get a biopsy. These don't happen like this. This is a process. What if that first day you came into the office, somebody could draw your blood and the next day they tell you what's going on with the rest of your body? It'd be pretty cool. It sounds kind of futuristic, but that's where we're heading. And I think that we're, I would like to think of us being on sort of the leading edge of that in our sarcoma work. And finally, one of the really fun things that we have going is something that Dr. Anderson brought with him from his research fellowship down at the University of Florida. And he's been working with Drs. Fearing and Romarin, and they're actually growing tumors in the lab. So when you look at doing actual research with tumors, one of the things is you have to figure out a model to test these things. We don't want to just take our nice little neighbor who has cancer and say, hey, we're just going to start testing you with stuff and see what works. We want to start somewhere a little bit more simple, a bit more reproducible. So we are actually, I think one of my tumors that I took out was the first one that they did this with. We literally, within 15 minutes of taking it out of the patient, had it downstairs, cut it, sectioned it, took a piece to the lab, and started culturing this tumor. And it's a three-dimensional culture to actually give it literally like a 3D picture. And then once you get these, sort of organoids growing, you then have something you can sustain and then look at what can you do to these things? How can you treat them? So this is some of the innovative stuff. I think it's innovative, and I'm totally biased, but that our team is doing. And much credit to Dr. Sturwald, Dr. Jagoski, Dr. Anderson for all the work that they are doing there. And it's really it's fun to watch and fun to be a part of. I'm not a lab person. I try and understand as much as I can, but I'm happy to take the tumor out of somebody and bring it up to the lab. But anyway, none of this would be possible without the support of the Takacs Foundation, and it's really makes it a great place to work, because not only do we get to see patients and have that face-to-face and take care of them, but on the back end we're trying to do things to really move the rock forward in cancer treatment. So thank you all.
Thank you so much, Dr. Tan and Dr. Patt. I think you can see why this partnership is incredible, and it's a blessing for both patients and researchers. It's amazing to me. Without further ado, I want to thank and bring up our board of directors. Without them, there would be no Paula Takacs Foundation. They are the wind beneath my wings. I'd also like to bring up Treasurer Lee Sugg, who is my right-hand woman and keeps me from freaking out over every spreadsheet I look at. So now I'd like to call up board members Jim Barnes, Ashley Smith, Suzanne Levine, Dawn Whitmore, Heather Lopane, Doug Sleeper, Elizabeth Romano, Nicole Gower, Tom Valle, Heather Franklin, Maya Logan, and Dr. Patt, which is straddling both ends of the spectrum, right? And Treasurer Lee Sugg. Suzanne, would you get the big honking cardboard? It's going to drop down from the ceiling. It's amazing.
The dry erase, can we change it?
Yeah. Oh my gosh, it was edited. No. Come on in, everybody. So our gift to Atrium Health, Levine Cancer Institute, and Levine Children's Hospital. To every researcher, thank you, thank you. To the entire staff that is patient-facing, you are absolutely incredible human beings and incredible at what you do. We appreciate you all very much. And in that spirit, our board, if I can flip this around without taking anybody out, would like to give you a grant of $275,000. Cheers, everyone. Thank you all for being a part of this mission and making it possible. We appreciate you beyond words, and thank you for being the soulful, wonderful people that you are to make this happen. I hope you'll all stay and enjoy each other's company and talk to the beautiful people from Loretta's who made this possible. We'll put the check over by the photo wall so you can take checks with pictures with the check with your family, with your coworkers, with your organizations. And also please visit the table from Growing Hope Through Art and look at the beautiful glass, take materials, and also we have a swag table on the other side by the photo wall. Please take the swag, take the hats, take the stomp shirts, take the Sarcoma is Cancer, and thank you all very, very much for being here this evening. Love my family. The best cheering squad in the world.